Welcome to the Senior Center. This is Something to Talk About, which is a program we do Monday, Wednesday, and Friday here. And we are sponsored by Fieldstone Memory Care, which provides innovative and compassionate care on Rolling Bay. They also are now offering day stay, and respite programs. To learn more, call 360-689-4314 to schedule a tour of Fieldstone's beautifully appointed apartments. And today we're going to be talking about public art on Bainbridge Island. And I'm very happy to be able to welcome Steve Rabago of the Bainbridge Arts and Humanities and talk a little bit about this program, which I think is done in part, Steve, as a cooperation between Arts and Humanities and the city of Bainbridge Island.
Yeah, that's correct. I'll a little bit of background. The Public Art Committee is actually a subcommittee of the Arts Humanities Bainbridge, and it receives funding from the city to, what I always say, to be the curator of the city's art program and the steward of the art program, and that we review and maintain and work with the city's public works department to make sure that the art pieces are still in good shape and they aren't damaged by the weather or vandals and those types of things. So pretty engaged activity. We meet once a month, and generally speaking, there's people from the city staff as well as a representative of the city council that will be in attendance. So we're pretty closely aligned with what they're doing. Additionally, we do reach out to private entities or private parties. We're working with Wintergreen as an example right now to install an art piece associated with that particular project. So we both, we see funding from the city through an annual stipend that they pay. We receive some funding from private entities. And we also get paid when we sell art, which is part of what the Something New rotating art program is about. And we're going to talk a little bit about that today. And it's also part of the People's Choice, because all those artists are being compensated by the city or through us in order to present their art here on the island. It's not a new idea. It was essentially a rotating art program on permanent pedestals around the city. And as a result of that program, we're going into Something New 5. We do have a mission, as many organizations do, and ours is really to enhance the beauty of the island. And we do so in a way that we think fosters both diversity and inclusion, reaching out to artists from all over the Pacific Northwest, as well as artists of color and our local First Peoples. So we're continue to build a vibrant culture, both for both locals and visitors and tourists who like to come and see our beautiful island.
So, and there's an emphasis on regional artists, it sounds like.
Yeah, this current program focuses on regional artists. It sort of has evolved. The region has gotten bigger. We have, started locally, like mostly Kitsap and King counties initially, and then expanded it into, reaching out to a broader network in Idaho, Oregon, as well, Washington, as well as northern parts of California. And I think for the most part, most of the artists have come from either Oregon or Washington so far. But this year we made an effort to reach out to some artists of color, which we hadn't specifically done, but we're doing so by going to organizations that are connected more closely with artists of color and trying to get more people engaged in what we do. The Something New program started back in 2018. Bill Barenmickle kind of had the idea initially, and that's about the time I got involved too. And the city and the Public Art Committee had just completed doing the waterfront park. And this was sort of waterfront park went forward. It was a great permanent installation, but we wanted to do something that we could give an opportunity to more artists. And so we kind of came up with this idea, got it approved by the city council. and they approved it for 5 years. And so we're literally in the last of our 5th year. And as a result, the very first year, the city bought what's Hand in Hand, which was the first. There's no pictures of it here. I'll point it out when we get to it. It's the sculpture that's right across from the senior or community center where you are located, Reed, down in the waterfront park. It's a large granite piece, and each of the artists do receive some stipend this year, or up until something new for, which is this year. They've all received $1,000 for their effort and their work. And this year we're increasing that stipend, or asking the city council to increase that stipend to $2,000. And what that essentially does is it gives them enough money to pay for the insurance that it takes for them to be on the island. They have to buy a business permit and a few other things, and they do all the installation. So for the most part, it's a sort of a nominal compensation for their time and their effort. And part of the program that is sort of interesting too is none of these pieces are created for the platforms or pedestals at all. These are works that are already created. And so what we do when we go out for our call is we ask the artists to submit images and pictures of things they currently have in their studios. So it's not to be created for any particular location, but we actually will go through each of those locations and determine which pieces look the best, aesthetically, have an interesting story, and or mean something unique to the island. So I'm just looking at the notes here. So the other one that was recently purchased was the one that was called Reflection. And again, I think there'll be some slide here later that will show it, but the reflection piece was done, and it was located up by the city hall. It was the large reflection mirror that had a caterpillar on one side and it had a butterfly on the other. And that piece was purchased. It's waiting to be installed, and it'll be installed once again at Waterfront Park, just below or along the walkway between the post office and the rowing club. So it'll be along that walkway and near the kids' park. So I think it's interesting. Well, we've really been focusing on putting art in that waterfront park area, so the community center gets to take advantage of that because so much of it is being placed there. And then let's see. So this is the voting screen. I think that Inez wanted to point out or highlight. It's going to be on the Arts and Humanities Bainbridge website. And I don't think people are going to be able to click anything to get there. So
no, but I will put a link. If you're watching this on YouTube, just go to the box below the video and there'll be a link to these 2 links that you have there, Steve.
Okay. What I wanted to particularly point out here, the one piece that we did vote just recently to select or to recommend to the city council that they purchase Cardinal Connection, which is Jan Hoy's piece. Jan is a local artist who does have public work around the Pacific Northwest, quite frankly, around the country. She does beautiful work. The piece is in the upper left of the screen, and it's at City Hall right now. And I'll talk about where these are all located as far as the voting is concerned, because seeing them in real life is much more interesting than seeing them on a screen. But the Cardinal Connection is located at City Hall, right at the main entrance. Watch Salmon on the bridge above. Ed McCarthy's piece is in Waterfront Park. One of the great. I've loved that piece myself. The piece called Fertility is Jennifer Kuhn's piece, and that's over by TNC, right at the crosswalk. And it's been adorned by Jennifer with nesting material, and that's part of the art installation is the nesting material. So this was the picture that you see there is before the nesting material was put around the egg. but it's fun because that particular site gets a tremendous amount of viewing because of the crosswalk and it being on the sort of the ferry path from the city, or from the dock into town. So she designed it in such a way that people can insert little trinkets and things inside the nest like a mother or father bird might do in order to, help the egg nurture. Pretty
Yes,
fun.
I've definitely seen some fun things in the
Yeah,
nesting material.
it's like an old beard, right? That was
Yeah,
a
that was
Reed.
a
That was a
that was a
Reed
Reed
reference.
joke. Right, exactly.
Sorry. And then Truth, which is located down in the marina area, right next to docks in the little plaza there, McRae Wild. Again, a pretty interesting piece. It kind of has an Asian feel to it, but if you look at it, it's titled Truth. And if you look closely, it's actually a compression of the word truth, kind of letter on top of letter. It's a pretty fun piece. I was there when it was installed. McRae is a great guy, and he is also an Oregon artist. And then the last one, on the sort of the right center of the screen, Wandering Trees, is again down below the waterfront park. Very interesting. We just finished the video where Sean talked about her piece and how she built it. And she really was inspired by indigenous work of the totem. And she's described this piece as a totem in itself, as it's stacked piece by piece, and each of them have a certain representative meaning to each of those pieces, or each of those layers that she has put onto that piece. It's pretty interesting, but very fun. So I'm going to go ahead and click through to the next screen, but we've got a bunch of projects that we've got coming up. Something New 5. We're going to be going through a process with this. We think we're going to be asking the city to help purchase or pay for some consulting assistance so that we can build out a public art master plan. There was one done in 2004, so we want to go back and update that and expand that significantly. One of those things is to create a vehicle or a mechanism for the city to allow for public art on private location, on private property. And the most visible one that we talk about all the time when we're visiting with people who say, "Oh, you need to put it on." It's the Bainbridge Green, over by where the pavilion is located.
Yeah, the little gazebo there
Little
at the corner
gazebo
of
is
Wyatt and Madison.
right. Everybody assumes that's a city park. It's actually privately owned by the homeowners association and owners association there. So that's probably the most visible example of we should put something there, and that's why there isn't anything there yet, because the city won't allow it to happen. So we're hoping to find more locations like that around the island that are very public and very visible, and probably will never be used for anything other than park space. We're also spending some time working on the Sound to Olympic Trail with art projects that include everything from a welcome pole to linear art that will go along the pathway. We're in the process of installing I'm not going to call it a bench. It says bench here, but we're actually putting a sitting area in Waterfront Park that you'll be able to use to enjoy the art in the park, and or to turn around and look the other way and enjoy the view of the harbor. So that's something that's coming on. It's actually in recognition of our executive director's work on the island and her recent retirement. So that's pretty fun. And then the other thing that we're looking at is we're looking at if you've seen urban art or murals on walls around cities, we're trying to get some okay with the city both to pay for that, and as well as some private walls in order to put that on.
Yeah,
and
at this point we've got some fish swimming along Ferncliff Avenue, but that might be about it. Oh no, I know there's some art along Eagle Harbor Drive too, right by Mackachecks.
Yeah, there's little pieces all over the place, and generally speaking, it's some artists might reach out directly to the property owner, or the property owner reach out to the artist. What we're hoping to do is be able to identify potential walls and have the city pay for that paint or that muralization of that wall with something that's curated again by the Public Art Committee. So we're trying to take that a little bit further as well, which includes the ferry and the terminal, hoping to dress that up a little bit differently than other ferry terminals are around the Sound.
That's a great idea. I know that the new Mukilteo ferry terminal has many works of art in it.
Yeah.
So the idea of looking at that as more than just somewhere you walk through is great.
Yeah, and it's interesting. We know that the terminal, our terminal, is going to be improved. The walkway is going to be improved, and they actually do have. I think the state agreed to pay for 4 or 5 sculptural pieces. They've already commissioned the artists to do that work. But the inside of that, we've been hoping to work with them to do something along the wall on the walkway, and then something in the terminal as well that would be more artistic. Beyond painting the walls, the special green, that they must have got a great deal on that green, because so many of those terminals are that sort of bus station green color. And then the other thing I wanted to mention as we close is that there's a lot of opportunities to get involved with the Public Art Committee. If you are a social media person, we have Facebook pages that you can follow us on. We have Instagram that you can follow us on. We also are constantly looking for new members to grow the committee, because it does sort of ebb and flow. And as a result of sort of the post-COVID, we're down to about 7 people that are currently on the committee. And as its chairman, I like to get it up to about 10 to 12 to maintain that we have enough energy and enough people on the committee to actually do the work. We also have a map that's available online on your smartphone. You can log into a website called AutoCast and search AutoCast on either your Apple phone or your Android phone, and download the application called AutoCast. And AutoCast gives you a walking tour and a map of all the art pieces that are on the island that are part of the Public Art Committee. It also gives you links to information about the artist, and links to a video that has been made about the artist and the art piece. So it's a very robust tool. And if you sign up for that, there's no cost to that. It's just something that we provide to the community at large. I would recommend that you visit Bainbridge Currents in the public art page. We talked about the multiple URLs. Here's, again, Bainbridge Currents is another one that you can find. And then if you're a selfie taker, we love when we see people take selfies with the public art and upload them to either Facebook or to Instagram. That's always fun. So with that, I think that's the last of the slides. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Well, I think this is great. I'm just looking at this. I just downloaded this app.
Oh, yeah.
You can't really see it.
Oh, yeah, AutoCast.
Yeah, and so I'll see how that works.
Yeah.
See if we can.
Yeah, I just did it too, and it's really good.
It's a really nice app. I know that about 2 years ago, we spent a lot of time looking at different mapping apps and things that would be useful. And literally, if you had, what we're hoping to do is have something at the ferry that says, download this app, and you can take a walking tour of all the art pieces on the island.
Yeah, and it looks like it has other locations as well.
Yep, it sure does.
And one of the questions I was going to ask you about was details, because obviously when you walk by a piece of public art, you might not know some of the story or intention. And it sounds like the answer to my question is AutoCast.
Yeah, we're going to be putting little QR codes on each of the something new 5 pieces, so that you'll be able to just take your camera to the image. It'll take you right to the video. So there'll be some things like that that'll be changing for something new 5 as well, to make it even easier for people to do it. And the big thing I like to let people know is every one of those pieces is for sale. a part of the contract that they sign with the city and our recommendation from the Public Art and AHP is that every artist has a price associated with that piece before they can get approved. And that price, again, it's sort of the price that is going to be paid. But the city and the Public Art Committee, we get 20% of or 25% of that comes back to our fund to support the program.
So if you find one of those pieces of art that you'd like to have in your garden, you can get it and support public art here on Bainbridge.
Exactly.
That's great. I didn't know that.
Yeah, maybe something back in your office there.
Yeah, there we go. It could use a little something, couldn't it?
Yeah. a big something.
I would think some of those would be a little bit hard for moving, transporting from one to another.
Well, trust me, we'll take care of that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I'm curious about, you said that the funding is through, or at least the support from the city is through this next cycle, something new 5. So what's going to happen? Do we know? Or
well, yeah. And I think it's more of a matter of just going to get it in the budget. But we got a 5-year commitment originally to test it out, and our recommendation is to continue to do the program because we've had such great success with it. It's been really well received by the community, and the city's purchased art from it, as well as the community members have purchased art. So we really think it's a functional and well running program. So we think that they'll approve it. That said, we have to go because it requires public funding. We go to the city council. We're going to ask for an extension as part of our budget program. But let me you kind of alluded to this as well, is how does the Public Art Committee get its funding at all? So every year in years past, the city provided a percentage of their capital construction commitments to the public art purchases. About 2 years ago, we went back to them and said, that process is really complicated because we can't plan based on what when you close out these construction projects, because we might find out 2 years after a project is done that money is available to us. And it takes about 2 years before we can actually go from here's cash to here's an installation. Just the process timing, it seems like it takes way too long, but that's what it takes. So what we asked them to do 2 years ago was dispense with the percentage of capital and just start putting $50,000 in the public art sub fund, which now has about $290,000 in it, which we use to purchase art and run these programs. They also put in $10,000 a year to maintain the program or maintain the art for maintenance and repair. And it's mostly major repair, not simple, washing the piece down. And then they also provide a stipend to AHB of $12,000 a year. That used to be $24,000 a year. We're going to be going back to them again and asking for some supplemental increases because, as you know, running an organization and managing this many people and the kind of work that we're doing, it takes a lot more than 5 hours a week to accomplish that. So we're hoping that they'll increase the budget a little bit around that and be able to help support even further what we're doing.
Steve, who's in charge of cleaning and maintaining? Who does it?
Yeah, the city does it. The city maintains it. Once a quarter, we do a little walk around of all the pieces to see how they look. And we'll contact the city with the work that's necessary. So, but their public works department does most of the work, and it's everything from advising them that they need to trim the bushes because they've grown too high and they're now hiding the art piece, to you need to reach out to Messalini art, glass, because there's some art glass that's missing from one of the art installations. Like they have the art installation on the corner of Winslow and Madison. They have an art installation at the Waypoint Park. So, again, we're always looking at that to make sure, number one, there's no hazard, but also that the art is maintained in a way that's appropriate. everything that's purchased by the city actually has a maintenance plan associated with what the artist has agreed that, needs. We track that as well and work with the Public Works Department. Our Public Works Department in the city is great. They do a great job. They've been really great partners for us because they do a lot of the heavy lifting. And to your point earlier, Sheila, there is some heavy lifting involved, but they have the cranes and the equipment and can be really supportive for that activity.
So you mentioned the installation at the corner of Winslow and Madison. Is that the one in front of Subi's or in front of whatever the restaurant
in front of Bossa Restaurant.
The one on the ground?
Yep.
Cool. Yeah. So that city takes care of that?
Yep.
That's all part of you guys.
Yep.
That is
So
it's logical, but yeah, I love that. Yeah.
There's actually when you walk along that side of the street, it's funny. I mean, most of the art is on that side of the street. We need to start looking at the other side of the street, but there's quite a few pieces along there. There's what they call, I think they just refer to it as the manhole cover. There's a manhole cover that's an artistic manhole cover there. There's sort of the brass inlay that's near Columbia Bank and Chase Bank along that way. There's actually a gurgle fountain there that gurgles, that's not working right now, but we found that, that was one of the walkabout things that we identified, as the gurgle fountain is no longer gurgling.
Where was that?
So where the crosswalk is, right there at
Blackbird.
the bank. Yeah, between Blackbird and Chase.
Yeah.
The water fountain there is a water fountain, but there's also a button in the back that if you push it across the way there's a water feature that actually water is supposed to go through the water feature when you push that button. So it's probably just clogged, but.
Oh, that's fun.
It is fun.
Yeah, it worked here when I first moved to the island. It doesn't work now, but that's one of the repair things that we try to identify, when we're doing our walkabouts.
Okay.
So Steve, it said in the slide that if you were interested in joining the committee, contact Steve Rabago. So how do we do that?
I'll give you my email address. It's really simple. It's Steve at my last name, Rabago, RABAGO.me. So if you can send it to me, that would be great. Or you can send it to Arts Humanities Bainbridge too, and as will follow up.
Okay. Thank you so much. This is informative, and we have about a month to vote, so we can we can pick the people's choice.
Absolutely. And if you have more than one email, you can vote more than once. One of the few times you can do that.